Hi guys, I'm TK. Welcome to my tarot teaching channel. I am so excited to start this journey with all of you. And I hear that the beginning is a very good place to start. So I thought that for the first lesson, we would just take a quick look at where tarot cards come from. I know there is a lot of mythology based around the history of the cards, and let's set some of that straight. So the tarot cards that we know today used for divination started as simple playing cards with 4 decks in the 9th century in China. Now, these cards we believe were used mainly for gambling games, sort of as a proxy for money. These games and other variations spread it throughout Indonesia, India, Persia, eventually into Egypt in the 11th century. So it didn't take too long for this stuff to spread out. And then in 1365, these same 4-suit decks that we had already been using made their way into Southern Europe. And then by 1377, it was a widespread game, these card games. Now, the suits got renamed a couple of times throughout the ages. In China, the suits were all coins. And they're certainly not anymore. So coins are seen in tarot playing decks. This is the suit of coins. That's the ace of coins right there. And when it became a divinatory practice, those were changed to pentacles. And in a regular, say, American card deck, we would know those today as diamonds. Then we have batons, or polo sticks, as they were known in Egypt. They didn't really have polo in Europe around the 1370s, so that got changed to batons or sticks, and eventually they became known as wands in the divinatory decks. Then we have swords. Huzzah. We have the suit of swords. That hasn't changed names except in the modern playing card decks. Now they're known as spades. Then the last one, the last suit that we're familiar with from the 4-suit deck would be the cups. Again, this did not change, except in our modern decks, they're known as hearts. Now, in 1750, about 300 years after these cards came to Europe, the Italians, or rather the aristocracy in Milan, decided to add a 5th deck. And this 5th deck became known as the Major Arcana or Major Secrets deck once it started to be used for divinatory purposes, or cartomancy, reading of cards, divination by card reading. At the time, however, they were known as triumph decks or triumph cards. And you still see that in modern games like poker. You'll see trump cards. That's where we get that from. Though the first ones, because they were commissioned by the noble families of Milan, they didn't always have the same number of cards in the deck. And it wasn't really until the deck of Marseille later, the Marseille deck, that we ended up with the exact 22 card triumph deck that we have now. And that was used for a game called Tarot or Tarot. This is the Major Arcana, all 22 cards, or the triumph deck, if you're going to play the old card game. The original cards, the original Major Arcana cards had a lot of imagery that was culturally significant in Italy at the time. So you see a lot of depictions of Catholic ideals and beliefs, Christian ideals and beliefs, and that's why you have a Pope card, or as it was later rebranded, the Hierophant in modern occult decks. It wasn't until 1750 that anybody even thought to start using cards for divinatory purposes. People had used all kinds of things, coins and rocks and runes and chicken bones, but Antoine Court and Jean-Baptiste Eliot decided to use the Marseille deck to start telling people's fortunes. And they assigned a lot of occult ideas to the decks, such as the pagan or Greek even idea of fire, earth, air, and water, and then assigned special significance to the triumph cards. The first deck specifically created for the occult was created by Jean-Baptiste Eliot, who was an occultist and a spiritualist, in 1791. And it, like I said, was based on the Marseille deck, the court cards from Marseille. There weren't any major changes to the tarot decks as we know them until 1910. That's when a Mr. Waite, who was an occultist, approached artist Pamela Smith to create a new set of cards with more occult symbolism, more Greek symbolism, and less Catholic symbolism. And that's when that's another change from the Pope to the Hierophant. They approached a publisher called Rider Publishing and had them published, and that is what we know today as the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or you'll hear it called the Rider-Waite deck, and that's how I refer to it usually, because I didn't know there was a woman involved in creating the cards. Now, the deck that I use is the Golden Tarot deck by Kat Black. This is a very interesting deck. It was a gift, as tarot cards are meant to be. At least that's a belief in the culture surrounding tarot cards, is that they are supposed to be a gift, not that you buy them for yourself. Although, if they're a gift to yourself, I guess you can cheat a little bit. I really like this particular deck because it's gold and shiny, and it has like the golden filigree on the edges. It does make it a little harder to see sometimes. They're very glossy, which I enjoy. They're a little difficult to shuffle. They are interesting to me because they are based on the Rider-Waite deck, which I learned on. But Kat Black went back and did something very interesting, which was to go back to the Renaissance art and create digital collages that kept the symbolism, a lot of the symbolism, not all of it, a lot of the symbolism from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and use the original Italian Renaissance imagery that would have been found then. So, as an example of what I just said, let's start with the Fool. The Fool is the beginning of the Major Arcana. It's the beginning of the tarot deck. And it's one of my favorite cards. What you can see she's done here, if you're familiar at all with the Rider-Waite deck, she's kept this cliff. She's kept this staring off into space. And instead of having a knapsack, as he does in the Rider-Waite deck, here we have a drum. So we're talking about somebody who's probably a little more emotional or musical or something like that. And she kept the dog here as well. But the Fool is about to walk off a cliff. No idea where he's going or how he's going to end up. So I really, really do enjoy those differences. And as we continue our journey, I will probably point them out to you. I do want to say that I'm so excited that you're here. I have been doing #Tarot Tuesdays live on Facebook. I'm posting each of those live videos here as well. So we'll have another one tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll post it probably around 8. I'm really excited for that tonight too, because we are going to talk about all of the major arcana cards, hopefully. If not all of them in depth, we'll at least get through the first 10. And then we can do the next 10 next week. The other video I'm posting is last week's video. It should already be on the page if you're tuning in after the live reading tonight. And that covered a basic synopsis of the entire deck. So now we're going to get to do something a little more fun as far as like delving in. Not that any of this hasn't been fun. Of course it's fun. I'm thrilled to have you guys along with me, and I really, really hope that you enjoy this. If you do enjoy it, like, subscribe, share, let your friends know, let your enemies know. Maybe it'll help. Who knows? Thank you so, so much, and I will see you again next #Tarot Tuesday.